Angela Rayner will back Andy Burnham being allowed to stand in the Gorton and Denton by-election after Andrew Gwynn stepped down. It's understood the former Deputy Prime Minister is supportive of allowing Burnham to stand and is likely to say so at Labour's North West Regional Conference on Saturday. It all comes as Mr Burnham faces pressure to decide whether he will attempt to return to Westminster after Andrew Gwynn announced he would quit the Commons. Gwynn said he'll stand down as MP for Gorton and Denton, citing significant ill health and advice from his doctor not to return to work. His decision means a by-election in the constituency, which he won comfortably in 2024, and opens a possible route back to the Commons for Burnham. He's widely believed to have ambitions to lead the Labour Party. Mr Burnham, though, has yet to comment on whether he will apply to be Labour's candidate.
Imagine a political brawl so wonderfully absurd that it involves high-stakes parliamentary seats, a king of the north being locked out of his own castle, and a dispute over Google Maps that makes your last argument about sat-nav directions look like a meeting of the United Nations Security Council. Welcome to the British political circus in January 2026, where the Gorton and Denton by-election has become the ultimate theatre of the unexpected. In one corner, we have Angela Rayner, the Deputy Prime Minister, armed with a sharp tongue and a map of Greater Manchester. In the other, Lee Anderson, the Reform UK Chief Whip, an undisputed heavyweight champion of plain speaking, common sense, who has just delivered a verbal knockout that is still echoing through the halls of Westminster. It is a tale of car parks, tax rows, and a Labour Party so terrified of its own shadow that it is currently engaged in a full-scale civil war while Nigel Farage's troops are literally camping on their doorstep. Quick favor, if you're loving this, hit that subscribe button. Over 92% of viewers haven't yet. It's free, takes a second, and means the world to us. Thanks, if you did. Now, back to the show. Let us set the stage. The Gorton and Denton by-election scheduled for February 26, 2026. This is not just any by-election. It is a nation-defining scrap, triggered by the resignation of Andrew Gwynn. For Reform UK, it is the perfect opportunity to prove they are the real opposition. For Labour, it is a desperate attempt to hold on to their heartlands, while the leadership looks like it is trying to solve a Rubik's Cube in a dark room. The drama kicked off when Lee Anderson, never one to miss a photo opportunity, posted a picture of himself with a small army of Reform volunteers. They were smiling, they were energised, and they were standing outside the Stanley House function rooms. Enter Angela Rayner. With the predatory instincts of a hawk spotting a field mouse, she noticed something. The Stanley House function rooms are not actually in the Gorton and Denton constituency. They are, in fact, about half a kilometre across the border in her own seat of Ashton-under-Lyne. She immediately took to social media and the pages of the Mirror to deliver what she thought was a humiliating slapdown. She mocked Reform for being unable to find the constituency on a map and suggested they were too busy filling their party with former Tories to actually learn how to use Google Maps. It was a classic Rayner move, sharp, sarcastic, and designed to make her opponents look like a bunch of bumbling tourists who had lost their way to the beach. But if Angela thought Lee Anderson was going to scurry away in embarrassment, she clearly does not know the man from Ashfield. Anderson's response was a masterclass in turning a gotcha moment into a get lost moment. He did not deny the location. He explained it with the kind of logistical common sense that resonates with people who actually live in the real world. He pointed out that when you have over 100 volunteers turning up from far and wide, you need a location with a massive car park. The Stanley House was chosen as a meeting point precisely because it could accommodate the sheer volume of Reform support. From there, the volunteers headed straight into the constituency to do the actual work. Anderson dismissed Rayner's comments as absolute rubbish and desperation from a desperate party. Lee Anderson did not just stop at defending his map reading skills, he went for the jugular. In a move that truly destroyed Rayner on the national stage, he pivoted the conversation back to her own past controversies. He mocked the Deputy Prime Minister over her historic property tax rose, delivering a line that has since gone viral. Angela doesn't even know which house she lives in. It was a brutal reference to the ongoing fallout regarding her former living arrangements and property sales. In late 2025, reports resurfaced concerning an underpayment of tax on a seaside flat, which Rayner herself admitted was an error she deeply regretted. This is where the humiliation becomes real. While Rayner was trying to play the intellectual superior by lecturing Reform on geography, Anderson reminded the public that the person leading the charge for Labour has had her own struggles with basic residential honesty. It is the political equivalent of being told you have a smudge on your glasses by someone who is wearing their jumper inside out. Anderson's retort effectively neutralized Rayner's jibe. He turned the Reform are incompetent narrative into a Labour are hypocrites counter-offensive, and in the court of public opinion, the latter usually wins. The irony here is thicker than a Manchester fog. Rayner accused Reform of not knowing where Gorton and Denton is, yet she is part of a leadership that is currently trying to pretend that the King of the North, Andy Burnham, does not exist. While she worries about boundaries on a map, her own party is redrawing the boundaries of common sense to keep their most popular figure away from Westminster. Anderson's mockery hit home because it exposed the fragility of the Labour High Command, a group of people who are so busy policing others that they have forgotten to check their own backyard.
Just a few weeks ago from that dispatch box, the Minister for Rural Affairs said that he'd been congratulated by a farmer over the introduction of the inheritance tax. Now, I think this farmer must have been a cannabis farmer, because just yesterday we had 10,000 farmers on Whitehall protesting against this madcap decision. So does the Deputy Prime Minister agree with me that this decision should be thrown in the trash can along with Rachel from Accounts?
As if the Rayner-Anderson spat wasn't enough, the backdrop to this whole saga is the spectacular civil war within the Labour Party. Sir Keir Starmer has officially blocked Andy Burnham from standing in the Gorton and Denton by-election. The reason given by the National Executive Committee, they claimed a mayoral by-election would be too costly, specifically citing a £4.7 million figure, and would divert resources. It is an excuse so flimsy you could see through it from space. Everyone knows the real reason. Starmer is terrified that if Burnham gets a seat in the House of Commons, he becomes a Prime Minister in waiting who could challenge for the leadership before the year is out. This Starmer doctrine of blocking popular rivals has caused absolute chaos. 17 local activists in Gorton and Denton have written an explosive letter to the Prime Minister claiming they feel their future has been played by party figures in Westminster. They warn that by blocking Burnham, the leadership is essentially gifting the seat to Nigel Farage's Reform UK. They described the situation as a nation-defining by-election battle and pleaded with the NEC to reverse the decision. When your own grassroots members are telling you that you are sabotaging the campaign, you are not just in trouble, you are in a political death spiral. Nigel Farage, of course, is loving every minute of it. He has noted that Starmer's decision has boosted Reform's chances significantly. With the unveiling of Matt Goodwin as a Reform candidate, the party is positioning itself as the only force capable of standing up for local people, while Labour is busy fighting itself. The King of the North has been barred from the castle, and Farage is currently measuring the windows for new curtains. It is a level of strategic incompetence from Labour that makes Lee Anderson's car park choice look like a stroke of genius. If you thought the map-reading row was the only problem Labour had, you have clearly underestimated their ability to generate scandal. As the campaign in Gorton and Denton heats up, the local party is being haunted by the ghosts of Trigger Me Timbers. This was the charming name of a WhatsApp group involving the former MP Andrew Gwynn and several local councillors. A 1,000-page investigation has recently found that 6 Labour councillors breached standards rules in what has been described as a vile and toxic chat. The messages are, quite frankly, appalling. They include jokes about the death of an elderly voter, wishing a cycling campaigner would be mown down by a lorry, and racist remarks directed at fellow Labour MP Navandu Mishra. One councillor reportedly changed the lyrics of an Elton John song to make an anti-Semitic joke. This is the local party structure that Angela Rayner is trying to defend while she mocks Reform's navigation skills. Lee Anderson has been quick to point out that while Reform might have chosen a meeting point 500 yards across the border for a car park, Labour chose to harbour people who show complete disregard for the very constituents they are supposed to serve. The investigation findings, led by Solicitor Linda Comstiff, are being considered by the council just weeks before the by-election. This means every time a Labour canvasser knocks on a door, they have to explain why their local representatives were joking about their constituents croaking it. It is a PR nightmare that no amount of Google Maps expertise can fix. By blocking Andy Burnham, a man seen as a clean alternative who could have reset the local party, Starmer has essentially tied his party's fortunes to a sinking ship of scandal. And then we have the Reform candidate himself, Matt Goodwin. Described by Lee Anderson as a fearless activist, Goodwin is not your typical politician. He is an academic turned insurgent who has spent the last few years decrying the Westminster blob. His unveiling at a rally in Denton was a direct challenge to the political establishment. While Labour is arguing about car parks and tax returns, Goodwin is talking about the most significant insurgency since the rise of the Labour Party 100 years ago. Goodwin's candidacy is designed to be provocative. He has already ruffled feathers with his views on British identity, but in a seat like Gorton and Denton, where many feel left behind by the metropolitan elite, his message is finding an audience. He and Anderson are focusing their campaign on crime, the decline of the high street, and the controversial issue of houses of multiple occupancy. They are using the Manchester way of plain speaking to cut through the jargon-filled defence of the status quo.
Lee Anderson, Angela Rayner's resigned. What do you think of that?
I don't think she had any choice, to be honest with you, Nick. I think she had to go. The story's dragged on for over a week now, and it's getting a little bit embarrassing. I mean, the timing's quite curious as well. Just before our conference is about to start, I think they're probably try to steal the front pages. Probably will, but that doesn't matter. We've got 6,000 members of the People's Army here today. They're going to storm this conference. Nigel's going to storm it later when he comes on stage. And you know what? We're 15 points ahead in some opinion polls, and it's only going one way, Nick, and you know that, don't you?
I mean, some in Reform say that she was actually a politician who connected. In many ways, she was the Labour person you feared the most, so that might make you reasonably happy.
Well, I think it was Mike Amos that connected with the public, weren't it? Not Angela so much, but jokes aside, yeah, she's got that. I think she's got that common touch. She appeals to people. I always said when she's at the dispatch box, she actually does a far better job than Sir Keir Starmer, and people can relate to that. But what they can't relate to is what she's been up to over the past few weeks or so. They don't like that, especially in communities like mine. They don't like the fact that she's sort of, I think, allegedly took advantage of her son's situation to get herself a new pad 250 miles away. The public don't like that. It's a story that's been dragging on, and I think she had to.
The Green Party is also making a muscular push, with leader Zach Polanski characterising the contest as a battle for the soul of our country. The Greens are the bookies' favourite in some quarters, positioning themselves as the progressive alternative to a Labour Party that has lost its way. This creates a fascinating three-way split. You have Reform hammering the right-wing and populist drum, the Greens appealing to the disillusioned left, and Labour stuck in the middle trying to defend a record of internal bickering and WhatsApp scandals. Where is the Prime Minister in all of this? Sir Keir Starmer has spent the week defending his decision to block Burnham, arguing that he is being clear-eyed about national security and party resources. But to the voters in Denton, it looks more like he is clear-eyed about keeping his own job. His attempt to frame the by-election as a straight fight between Labour and Reform is a transparent tactic to squeeze the Green vote, but it ignores the reality on the ground. When your deputy leader, Lucy Powell, is writing letters to constituents pleading with them not to stay at home or plan a protest vote, you know you are in trouble. Protest votes are exactly what by-elections are for. By blocking the one candidate who could have unified the local party, Andy Burnham, Starmer has guaranteed that a significant portion of his own supporters will either stay at home or cast their vote for someone else just to send him a message. Lee Anderson has been relentless in exploiting this. He has characterised Starmer's leadership as a Westminster stitch-up and a circus. He is framing the by-election as a chance for the people of Greater Manchester to tell the London elite exactly what they think of their rules and their Google Maps insults. It is a powerful narrative, and one that resonates far beyond the boundaries of a single constituency. Angela Rayner's defence for Labour is that they are the only party focused on delivering on local residents' priorities, like tackling the cost of living. It is a standard talking point, but it rings hollow when your own party's priority seems to be silencing popular mayors and investigating vile group chats. The voters are smart enough to see the disconnect. They know that a party that cannot manage its own internal communications is unlikely to be able to manage a national economy effectively. The cost of living is a real issue, but the cost of arrogance is what might lose Labour this seat. The arrogance of assuming that local members will just accept whatever candidate is imposed on them. The arrogance of mocking a rival's logistics while your own house is on fire. The arrogance of believing that a 13,000 vote majority is a shield against populist anger. Lee Anderson understands this dynamic perfectly. He knows that in the North, respect is earned, not inherited, and Labour is currently acting like they are the rightful heirs to a throne they have forgotten how to sit on. As the February 26 date approaches, the tension is palpable. This by-election has become a proxy war for the future of British politics. If Reform wins, it confirms that their insurgency is a real and present danger to the two-party system. If the Greens win, it shows that Starmer's centre-right pivot has left a vacuum on the left that he cannot fill. And if Labour wins, it will likely be by the skin of their teeth.
Lee Anderson He's done it again. He's done it again. I know I've done a My Godly Anderson is Thick video relatively recently. I don't do them all the time. It's like, you know, if someone says something stupid, you just say, you idiot, right? And it's like, oh, yeah, okay. But there are actual idiots in the world, and it's ironic, isn't it? You don't actually call idiots idiots unless they're really unpleasant, malicious idiots like Donald Trump.
Let us revisit the geography for a second, because the humor of it is just too good to ignore. Angela Rayner, the woman who literally lives in the neighbouring constituency, tried to play the role of the local expert. She essentially said to Lee Anderson, "You're in my house now, boy." But what she failed to realise is that in the age of the 24-hour news cycle, people do not care about the precise GPS coordinates of a meeting room, they care about the energy of the people inside it. Anderson's destruction of Rayner worked because it was so unpretentious. He basically said, yes, we met in a big car park because we have a big following. Sorry you're jealous of the parking space. It made Rayner look small, petty and bureaucratic. It's the difference between someone who is trying to win a game of Risk by counting every tiny plastic soldier and someone who is just charging across the board because they've got the momentum. And the irony that Rayner is the housing secretary, she's the person in charge of where people live, yet she spent her week arguing about where a group of volunteers had their tea and biscuits. It highlights the disconnect between the high-level titles these politicians hold and the ground-level reality of their campaigns. While Rayner is checking maps, Reform is checking the pulses of the voters. And right now, those pulses are racing with frustration. This entire by-election is a referendum on the Manchester way. Andy Burnham has spent years cultivating this idea, a form of politics that is northern-centric, pragmatic, and unashamedly local. By blocking him, Starmer hasn't just blocked a person, he's blocked a philosophy. He's essentially said that the Westminster way, where the NEC calls the shots and local members are told to fall in line, is the only way that matters. This is a massive gamble. In a city like Manchester, which has a fierce sense of identity and pride, being told that your most popular leader is inconvenient for London is a recipe for disaster. The British report has seen this play out before, but never with such high stakes. If the voters of Gorton and Denton decide they've had enough of the Westminster way, the fallout will be felt in every single red wall seat in the country. Lee Anderson and Matt Goodwin are positioning themselves as the true heirs to that northern pragmatism. They're saying, we don't care about the rules of the club in London. We care about the rules of the street in Denton. It's a message that bypasses the map-reading jibes of Angela Rayner and goes straight to the heart of the voters' concerns. Whether it's enough to win remains to be seen, but it's certainly enough to make the Labour leadership very, very nervous. We cannot ignore the role of social media in this destruction. The exchange between Rayner and Anderson didn't happen in a dusty parliamentary chamber, it happened on X, formerly Twitter, where millions could see it in real time. Rayner's initial post was designed to go viral, a quick witty jab at a rival, but Anderson's counter jab was even more effective because it was grounded in a relatable reality, the struggle for a good car park, and a devastating personal reminder, the tax row. In the digital age, a destruction happens when you manage to flip the narrative so completely that the original attacker becomes the victim. Rayner thought she was the one doing the destroying. She thought she was the one showing off her superior knowledge. But by the end of the day, the headlines weren't about Reform's map reading, they were about Rayner's desperation and her own historic tax issues. It was a tactical masterclass from Anderson, who has become one of the most effective social media operators in the country. This is the new reality of British politics. It's fast-paced, it's brutal, and it's fought in 280 characters or less. If you're not quick on your feet, you'll find yourself destroyed before you've even finished your morning coffee. Angela Rayner learned that the hard way this week, and the British report was there to capture every single second of it. In the high-stakes game of British politics, the person who focuses on the map often forgets to watch the road. Sir Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner are currently staring at the map, while Lee Anderson and the Reform movement are already in the driver's seat. The humiliation of the Deputy Prime Minister is a symptom of a much larger malaise within the Labour Party, a party that has become so obsessed with control that it has lost the ability to lead. As the February 26th by-election draws closer, the rhetoric will only get sharper. The British report will continue to provide you with the insights, the humour, and the hard-hitting facts that you won't get anywhere else. Whether it's the fallout from Trigger Meet Timbers or the next stage of the Burnham betrayal, we'll be there to break it down for you. Thank you for watching.